Hi, and welcome to another episode of Cooking on Caffeine. Today we're making vegan pozole rojo. These are the ingredients that you need to make this recipe. They're real simple, not traditional ingredients, but I promise it'll give a traditional taste. For the meat, using baby bella mushrooms. We're going to slice these up, but you can use shiitakes, you can use white mushrooms, and if you don't like mushrooms, you can use bits of tofu, and that'll work too. I'm going to be using white hominy, which is the corn that is in pozole and menudo. I have this big can from the beginning of the pandemic that they gave me as a substitute for the smaller can. I need to go ahead and use it. But this is the size of the can that is in the recipe on my website. Like I said, use the smaller one or use the bigger one if it's what the grocery store gave you. That's what I'm going to do today. Then you're going to use your broth of choice. I'm using this HEB vegetable broth because I love it. And then we're using menudo spice. I like the Gebhardt brand here, but Fiesta Bolner is really good too. Or you can make up your own mix if you want. This is all the chiles and the garlic and everything that you would do in the fresh made from scratch version. But it's already ground up and put together. And I like that. That's the type of recipe that I make. So with those basics, and then this is what's a little untraditional here is I like to use soy chorizo or chorizo. It has a lot of the chile flavor in it, plus the vinegar and the mustard that they put in here really brightens up the flavor of the pozole, brings it to a more traditional kind of taste, and then the meaty little bits are a lot like ground pork or ground turkey. And I love that bit of textural contrast in my pozole. My recipe calls for 2 of these, but they made them really spicy all of a sudden, so I'm only using 1. And with all of that, these very few ingredients, let's get started. You're going to want to get out a big stock pot and slice up your mushrooms here. Make sure you wash them first. And I would like to put it on about 7 out of 10, the heat under my stock pot here. And the first thing that I add is the chorizo. You're going to see the chorizo. We're going to cut it open. It's not a hard sausage. It's kind of like a ground pork, ground turkey kind of consistency with all of the spices in there. And then you're just going to get it sizzling like I am here. Stir it around. Once it is nice and hot and sizzly, you're going to add in your mushrooms. Now, we're not going to cook these completely right now. We are just going to toss them around in the hot chorizo to get them coated with that beautiful red color, as well as infuse it with a bit of that really potent chorizo flavor. That way they'll have a little bit more flavor than the broth that surrounds them once we cook the soup down. And it also helps give it that meaty umami. And this is what it looks like when you've got them coated and they start to cook down just a little bit. You get that beautiful color on there, and this is all natural color from the chorizo. I absolutely love it. And once we're at this point, we're going to add in our vegetable broth or whatever broth you decide to use. I've got 2 boxes of it, and they're both going to go in there. Nothing too fancy about this, just squeezing all the broth out. And once we have all of the broth added in there, we are going to add our hominy, our maíz pozolero. If you've never seen whole hominy kernels before, they're gigantic corn kernels, and these come in both white and yellow. If you've ever eaten corn nuts, this is what those are made of. It is also what they make grits out of. So this is the type of corn they use for that. Drain it and rinse it, especially if you're using the Bush's brand, because it's really salty. And then since I'm using a big can, I measured out about 4 cups of these hominy kernels that have been drained, and we're just going to stir that in. And again, this is on medium to medium high heat. Stir in your hominy here, and then we are going to prep the menudo spice. So open up your jars of that. I use these 2 small jars, and you literally just dump it in. But let me warn you, if you've ever used like Cajun seasoning, this is going to do the same exact thing. Don't breathe it in, or you're going to have a cough fest going on. So don't breathe when you do this. Just pour them, stir them in, and look at how beautiful this broth is, y'all. It is the most beautiful red. And you'll see the mushrooms and the hominy kernels Still kind of white. The broth is a little bit grainy, but that's going to change after we boil it for about 20 minutes. The mushrooms and the hominy are going to absorb a lot of that red broth, and look at this color. This color makes me happy, guys. So it's this beautiful orange. And then if we take a look at the broth, it's nice and smooth too. It's not as gritty as it was because the spices have absorbed a lot of the liquid from the broth as well. And after 20 minutes, it's ready to serve. So go ahead and serve yourself a bowl. If you're like me, put a lot of broth in there. And then this is what we're going to garnish with. We've got shredded cabbage, and of course you can shred your own cabbage if you want. And we have some radishes here. I couldn't find sliced ones, so I got whole radishes, and I'm going to slice them myself, even though it's really difficult for me. We've got some chopped fresh cilantro, and then some chopped fresh white onion, and then key limes that we're going to use the juice from. If you can't get key limes, that's fine. If you can use bottled lime juice, that's cool too, but key limes are the best. And then some tostadas. I like the red ones because they go really well with the red broth. And that's it. Let me show you how I assemble it here with my soup that's been served. First, I put down my shredded cabbage, then my onions, and then on top of that, we do our fresh cilantro. And then I'm going to use my vegetable peeler here to make very thin slices of my radish. Again, you can use a knife to do this. Either way is really difficult for me, but this works pretty well. And then I squeeze my lime. And then it is ready, guys. This is vegan pozole rojo. I hope you try the recipe, and I hope you love it as much as thousands of others have. Buen provecho.